What if I told you that one of Destiny's Child's original members didn't get a phone call, a sit-down, or even a warning? She found out she was fired by watching a music video? Yup, LeToya Luckett turned on the TV one day and saw two brand new girls singing her part. And just like that, she was erased from one of the biggest girl groups in history. But baby, that was just the beginning. This is not just a sad little music industry sob story. Oh no, this is betrayal, blackballing, cheating scandals, car sleeping, Dior envy, and a hot and cold love life messier than a toddler with a paint set. LeToya didn't just lose a job, she lost her best friends, her dream, and her entire public identity. And what did she do? She turned her pain into platinum. So if you think you know what really happened to LeToya Luckett, buckle up. Because once we pull back the curtain on how she was pushed out, dragged through it, and still managed to rise again, you're gonna see why the industry may have tried to bury her but forgot she was a seed. Let's get into it. For years, the official line was simple. LeToya and LaTavia were replaced in Destiny's Child due to some boring old management disputes. But let's be real, that's just PR code for something shady went down behind the scene. And baby, it did. LeToya and LaTavia were two of the four original members who helped build the group from the ground up. Before the Grammys, before the fame, before the designer gowns. These girls were riding in vans, hitting rehearsals, and hustling in Houston like their lives depended on it. So imagine giving your whole childhood to something, only to get the boot without a single heads up. According to LeToya herself, they started questioning the way things were being handled, especially by Matthew Knowles, Beyoncé's father and Destiny's Child's manager. Word was the spotlight never strayed far from his daughter and Kelly Rowland. And if you listen closely to those early records, when's the last time you heard LeToya on lead vocals? Exactly. LeToya and LaTavia didn't want to leave the group. They just wanted fair management. They asked for separate representation so things didn't feel so stacked. And what did they get in return? Silence. Ghosted. Then suddenly, boom! They turn on the TV and see the Say My Name video. Except it ain't them singing. That's right. They were replaced in a music video without a word. New girls, new visuals, same song. That wasn't a group decision. That was a cold business move, wrapped in glitter and served with a fake smile. So no, they weren't just replaced. They were erased. Swiftly, silently, and publicly. And the worst part? They didn't even get a heads up. Just betrayal. Broadcasted in HD. Now picture this. 1 minute you're on top of the world, performing on world stages, signing autographs, living the dream. And the next, you're sleeping in your car with a cup of noodles and a coffee pot as your kitchen. That was LeToya Luckett's reality after Destiny's Child dropped her like a bad habit. You'd think someone with her resume, platinum plaques, international tours, industry cosigns, would have labels lined up to scoop her up. But nope, the music industry turned its back on her faster than Matthew Knowles could say, new lineup. Word on the street was that she was unmarketable. Translation, she got blackballed. Nobody wanted to touch the girl who questioned the Knowles machine. And let's not sugarcoat it. Sis was broke. Not had to cut back on Starbucks broke. We're talking sleeping in cars, couch hopping, surviving off bottled water and microwave noodles cooked in a hotel coffee pot. That's not struggle, that's survival mode. And through it all, silence. No support. No checks. Just whispers behind closed doors and the occasional side eye when she showed up at industry events. People treated her like a threat for daring to speak up, for wanting fair treatment, for not playing the game the right way. It's wild how quickly the industry will forget your name when you're no longer useful to their narrative. But what they didn't count on? LeToya wasn't just another ex-member. She was a fighter. And even while broke, blackballed and bruised, she was plotting a comeback that nobody saw coming. Because being counted out doesn't mean you're done. Sometimes it just means you're being underestimated. And trust, LeToya was about to make the whole world regret doing just that. Just when LeToya was trying to pick up the pieces of her career and get her bag right, along came Brian Casey from Jagged Edge. Now, at first glance, it looked like a match made in R&B heaven. Two singers, both fine, both talented, both riding that early 2000s wave. But baby, behind closed doors, this relationship was hotter than Texas pavement in July and just as messy. Let's be real. Brian wasn't exactly giving faithful and focused. He later admitted in interviews that he was horrible in the relationship, like proudly horrible. He was cheating, sneaking, getting caught, and doing it all over again like it was a sport. LeToya, she stayed. She prayed. She cried. She believed he'd change. Spoiler alert, he didn't. And it wasn't just between the two of them either. His mama didn't like her. They were arguing on and off, splitting and reuniting more times than Destiny's Child changed members. At one point, folks close to her were begging her to walk away, but she was deep in it. Code to his phone, clapping back on social media, writing love songs and breakup ballads that had everybody thinking they were soulmates. But really, it was giving drama, trauma, and a whole lot of wasted time. What's even crazier, LeToya was trying to heal from the Destiny's Child fallout, rebuild her name, and chase a solo career, all while dealing with a man who couldn't do right if you gave him a map and a flashlight. And the rumors? People were whispering that Brian was still entertaining his exes. Others said LeToya was too clingy or too emotional. But let's be honest, what woman wouldn't be after being betrayed by her group, her industry, and now her man? Their relationship dragged on for 5 years. That's 5 years of roller coasters, red flags, and public humiliation. 5 years of trying to make something work that was broken from the jump. But like always, when the storm cleared, LeToya didn't stay down for long. She might have been heartbroken, but she wasn't hopeless. And what she did next? Let's just say the industry had no choice but to start paying attention again. Now look, LeToya's always been classy. She never dragged nobody, never did a tell-all interview, never exposed the tea the way she could have. But let's not act like people didn't feel that tension every time Destiny's Child came up. First off, Beyoncé. LeToya has always given her props in public, calling her gracious, supportive, and even crediting her with giving her that first big break. But baby, just because someone's smiling doesn't mean it's all love behind the scenes. Industry insiders have said for years that things ain't exactly sweet when these two end up in the same room. And who could blame her? I mean, you get kicked out of the group your childhood best friend invited you into, and then watched her skyrocket while you slept in a Honda Civic. And then there's the Kelly situation. Chilly. Rumors flew for years that LeToya and Kelly were low-key beefing over a shared ex. Some whisper it was a producer, others say it was a label exec. But whatever the truth was, folks were watching their every move. Smiles looked forced, red carpet hugs felt stiff. And don't get it twisted, LeToya kept it professional. But the streets? They were talking. Loud. And let's not forget, LeToya and Latavia didn't just leave the group. They were cut while Kelly and Beyoncé stayed, protected under Matthew Knowles' wing. Whether or not there was favoritism, the optics weren't great. 2 members out, 2 members in, and the 2 who stayed just so happened to be the ones closest to the manager. Coincidence? Okay. Now, fast forward to LeToya launching her solo career, and guess who's suddenly being compared to her former group mates at every turn? Radio stations asked, is she the next Beyoncé? Award shows snubbed her. Fans took sides. And the media? Oh, they loved pitting the girls against each other like a pop version of Real Housewives, Houston edition. But through it all, LeToya played it cool. No interviews dragging names, no diss records, just quiet strength, perfectly styled hair, and a whole lot of grace. Still, no matter how quiet she stayed, the rumors followed her like a shadow. Because once you've been part of Destiny's Child, the drama don't ever really stop. After all the drama, the heartbreak, the industry ghosting, LeToya Luckett did what nobody expected. She dropped a solo album and hit #1 on the Billboard 200. Like it was nothing. Let's sit with that for a second. The same girl that record execs said was unmarketable. The same girl who had to crash on couches and cook noodles in hotel rooms. The same girl who was written off as just another Destiny's Child leftover. Yeah, that girl went #1, independently. No Matthew Knowles, no Beyoncé cosign, no flashy machine behind her. But of course, the minute she started winning, the whispers got louder. She had ghostwriters. It was a fluke. She's not really that talented. Because God forbid a black woman make a comeback without somebody trying to tear her down. And the industry? Still lukewarm. Radio stations didn't want to play her. Award shows looked the other way. It was like her success was too inconvenient for the narrative they'd already written about her. Forgotten. Done. Irrelevant. But you know who didn't care about any of that? The fans. They showed up. They streamed. They bought the album. They sold out shows. Because while the industry was busy sleeping on her, the streets were wide awake. People connected with LeToya's vulnerability, her hustle, her ability to turn pain into power. She wasn't out here pretending to be perfect. She was real, raw, relatable, and that's what made her dangerous. because the music industry loves a good underdog story until the underdog starts winning. And LeToya, she wasn't just winning, she was proving that talent, grit, and authenticity could still shake the table, even without a major machine backing it. The execs said no. But the people? They said, "Girl, we hear you loud and clear." So when the music industry started acting funny again, radio airplay vanishing, budgets shrinking, and executives conveniently forgetting her #1 debut, LeToya said, "Cool, I'll build a new lane." And that's exactly what she did. First stop, Hollywood. LeToya dipped into acting like she'd been born for the screen. Preacher's Kid, Greenleaf Power, Sis was booked and delivering the kind of performances that had people forgetting she came from a girl group. But of course, even that came with side eyes. Some folks said she should stick to music. Others swore she was just playing herself on screen. But LeToya, she kept securing roles and proving that she could be just as compelling with a script as she was with a mic. Then came Lady L Boutique, a fashion business she started with her mother. And listen, it wasn't some slapped-together vanity project. They built a full-on brand, selling denim, statement pieces, and even carrying Beyoncé's House of Darion at one point. Yup, LeToya was out here selling Beyoncé's fashion line, like a true businesswoman who knows how to keep it cute even when the past is messy. And just when fans thought she'd finally found her happily ever after, the divorce drama dropped. She married entrepreneur Tamikis Walker in 2017, and it looked like a fairy tale. Red carpet love, spiritual foundation, 2 beautiful kids. It had all the makings of a black love dream. But behind the scenes, rumors started bubbling. Alleged cheating, social media unfollows, cryptic captions. Then boom, divorce confirmed. LeToya handled it like a queen, but you could tell it hit her hard. She had just found stability, and now she was back navigating heartbreak, this time as a mom in the spotlight. And the internet? Oh, they had opinions. Some blamed him, some blamed her. But nobody was offering grace for the fact that she was grieving a marriage while still trying to juggle a career, raise kids, and keep her name from becoming gossip blog fuel. But in true LeToya fashion, she didn't spiral. She pivoted again. She leaned into motherhood, poured herself into her acting roles, and kept building. Because when life said no again, she said bet. You see the pattern, right? Every time this woman gets knocked down, she doesn't just get up, she reinvents, quietly, powerfully, and with more grace than most of us could ever manage. If there's one thing LeToya Luckett knows how to do, it's resurrect. After all the drama, the firings, the heartbreak, and the industry snubs, you'd think she'd fade quietly into the background like so many others who got chewed up by the business. But not Toya. Sis is still standing, and not just standing, plotting. Let's talk about this tell-all book she's been teasing. Oh yes, word on the street is that LeToya has been putting pen to paper about her Destiny's Child days. And baby, we need it. If she names names, if she drops the real behind-the-scenes tea, the internet might spontaneously combust. People have been waiting decades to hear what really went down. And if she finally lets it fly, buckle up. And then there's the music. Fans have been practically chasing her back into the booth, and every time she posts a studio selfie, the comments section explodes. She's been dropping hints, but also keeping it cute, saying life keeps pulling her in different directions, whether it's the kids, acting gigs, or unexpected new projects. But the energy? It's bubbling. You can feel the comeback creeping up. And let's not forget the possible reality show. LeToya as a single mom navigating the entertainment world? That's a binge watch waiting to happen. Between the glam, the grit, the motherhood moments, and maybe even some love life twists, it would be everything we didn't know we needed. It wouldn't be some manufactured mess either. It'd be real, raw, and 100% Toya. And speaking of love, did you catch that she recently tied the knot again? Yes, ma'am. LeToya found love with a new man, and this time around, she says she's finally got peace. No mess, no public drama, just a man who sees her, not the singer, not the headlines, but Toya. And honestly, after everything she survived, she deserves that and then some. So what's next for LeToya? Music, movies, memoirs, all of the above? Probably. But one thing's for sure, she's not done. Because no matter how many times the industry tried to shut the door in her face, she keeps showing up with new keys. And every time people count her out, she reminds them, you can't cancel what God already called. At the end of the day, LeToya Luckett will never just be the girl who got kicked out of Destiny's Child. Nah, that's just the first line of a much bigger story. She'll be remembered as the one who turned public humiliation into private resilience. as the woman who went from couch surfing and sleeping in her car to topping the Billboard charts, without a machine, without a famous last name, and without playing dirty. She'll be remembered for her quiet strength, for holding her head high while folks tried to dim her light, for not clapping back when she had every reason to, for never needing to throw shade to prove her shine. She'll be remembered for every woman who's ever been told, "You're not enough, you're too emotional, you don't belong here," because she proved them wrong without ever losing who she was. And through the cheating scandals, the career blocks, the friendship fallouts, the failed marriages, and the relentless pressure to stay perfect, LeToya stayed true to her core: faith, family, and fire. That's what kept her going. That's what keeps her evolving. As of 2024, she's sitting on an estimated $5 million net worth, a growing acting portfolio, a loyal fan base, and a story that's still being written. Whether it's new music, a book that finally spills the truth, or a reality series that shows the real LeToya, we'll be watching. Because some stars burn out. But LeToya, she just keeps rising. Not in spite of what she's been through, but because of it.